Yeah.
Is that right?
And good for you.
Oh,
6 games correctly.
I got 6 o'clock, man.
hey, we got to get you a Swami hat next
yeah.
time.
Let's roll this thing and come back and throw some shade your way. What do you say?
You got it.
It's game day, baby! Let's go!
Welcome, everyone, to NFL Nation Live, our Week 20 show. Divisional round matchups this week in Week 20. We'll close the books on Week 19. A couple surprises, maybe. Pretty good comeback by the Jaguars. We'll get to all that. Congratulations to Cap for picking all the games correctly last week.
I broke my arm, patting myself on the back. Damn it.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. We'll open the chat up here just a little bit. Keep it coming, keep it real. In the meantime, V, what are your quick first thoughts, man?
Gentlemen, and then there were 8 left in the dance. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, 8 indeed. And I think that said, it's put up or shut up time now because the road to the Super Bowl is going to go through Kansas City, Philadelphia, Buffalo, or San Francisco, right?
Exactly.
I'm ready, Cap. I know you're ready, V. Are you ready?
Taped up with my new tape. Let's get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome, everyone, to NFL Nation Live. I am Roof Guru, along with the Hall of Famer Wayne Violator Mavy and the legendary pirate Captain Jack. Welcome, everyone, to the show. Open up the chat room. Keep it coming. Keep it real. Hello to everyone. So we've got Week 19 in the books. Seattle went into San Francisco, pretty much got their butts handed to them by the 49ers. No surprise there. Anything surprised you guys from that game? Not so much for me, really.
No, not so much. What I saw was that Niners defense really flex on that Seattle's offense, man.
Yeah.
It's just like high school playing a junior varsity.
Yeah. Well, I think Dallas will give them a little bit better game this week, but Seattle's gone, and I'm not surprised about that. Honestly, I felt like the Packers were maybe Detroit, but one of those
Detroit, give it right to EBC.
Yeah, Frenchie. Yeah, I felt like one of those two teams were playing better ball at the end of the season than Seattle probably deserved to be there. That's not what happened. Same with AFC. I felt like the Steelers were playing pretty good ball at the end. Wish they could have gotten in over Miami. Los Angeles went into Jacksonville, went up 27-0, and got beat by a field goal at the end, 31-30. What happened to the Chargers and their epic collapse in Jacksonville?
Tell you, man. And only because my son was there as a Garglers fan, and I have yet to talk to him because he's not as serious about it as me. So, I mean, I could have called him up like the next day, but I'm still letting him go. He went up there for the 2-hour run from Melbourne to Jacksonville to watch that game, and I know that he was happy at the half. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I picked the Jags in that game, and I was like, man, I was just stupid to pick the Jags in this game starting at halftime. But here's the thing. The Chargers couldn't finish it. As Coach was saying in the last show, they can't run the ball. They're relying on Herbert. And then you have Bosa, who makes a couple boneheaded plays. And because of the one boneheaded play, they get a 2-point conversion at the one with that reach out. And that's game time. When you give them 2 points easy like that, great. Yeah. And like I said, and you guys missed it if you didn't watch the Wild Wild West show. I did my Carlton Goonie Goo Goo dance when the Garglers left the playoffs. Oh. So I did, and I stood up for it too. My legs are hurting, but I did the Carlton Goonie Goo Goo dance, and I was awesome.
Well, you did put that out there last week, so
I wasn't sure if that was.
You put that out there, so I remember that.
Yeah, I
But
didn't remember if it was for Kansas City or the
okay,
Chargers
all
or
right,
both. But
enough said.
yeah, I should have put a
Yeah.
little Carlton I should have put a little Carlton in the video at the beginning.
Right on, brother. Hey,
I'll
way
have
to
to do
stand
that.
tall.
Yeah,
Uh,
well,
But
ooh, like I
but
said,
look,
speaking.
what I saw in that one, man, I had to give hats off to went brain dead on him. The quarterback for the Jags, man. This
Lamar.
kid, 4 interceptions. Am I correct? I think
Yeah, four picks.
four
Yeah.
picks. Cool as the other side of the pillar, as the guy from ESPN used to say.
Oh,
Then
Stewart, baby, gotta love
Stewart,
Stewart, man. As
Stewart.
cool as the other
As
side of the
cool as the
pillar.
other side of the pillar.
yeah.
That's right.
This kid, man, I'm watching him and I'm like, this kid has matured from last season. And I mean a lot. But I give kudos to Coach Peterson for getting in his head with some wisdom.
Yeah.
That's what he needed, was some wisdom. This kid went out there and says, hey, let's go win this thing. Because he could see that the Chargers, like Cap said, they couldn't finish nothing.
Yeah. And they proved it.
They proved it. They showed it, man.
Short week, road game. Got a lot of points early, but yeah, that epic collapse in the
Faded.
3 points in the whole rest of the game.
Yeah.
From that
Faded.
standpoint. A lot of good comments coming into the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Those of you that correctly picked the Jaguars, congratulations to you. There's a number of those from that standpoint. Sebastian asked me what I thought on how the refs did this week. I'd say it's a mixed bag. Quite frankly, 50-50 in some of the games. I didn't think the crew in Minnesota was very good at all, quite frankly. But that's why they're wild card round refs, because they were good enough to make the playoffs, so to speak. But that they're done from that standpoint. I didn't actually make a notebook this week like I normally do for some of the games. But I'd say it's basically 50-50 from overall is how I would do it. I can't recall any major goofs, but there probably was one. But again, this week I didn't keep a notebook. But I'll try to do that this week.
I would say I saw the one, and I can't remember. I think it was a Jacksonville. They called it like a roughing the passer on Herbert. Yeah. And it's like they basically they touched him and let him down and
they
walked
did the
away.
same. I think they did the same thing in Minnesota.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it happened
talk
in
about
Minnesota
some
too.
crap. Talk about some crap, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting fed up with that.
Yeah,
everybody's fed up with that call. Either get it right or don't call it at all.
Or don't call it. Yeah. And you're gonna have 17 referees, so to speak. You're going to get 17 or 18 different ways to call that. Very difficult to be consistent when there's not, I don't think, a definition for them to go by. On those judgment calls, there has to be some framework. It has to, look, when I was in high school, in college, this is how we did it. For judgment calls like that, they set the criteria. So in your head, you're looking at these plays, and you're saying to myself, does it meet 1, 2, or 3, or whatever? And that's when you know you got a flag. If you can't say to yourself in the moment it meets one of those criteria, you don't have a flag.
Right.
So they have to put some of this stuff in a box by giving the officials some criteria. I know in a judgment call that's still a judgment call, but you can say generally those things are about some sort of contact, right?
Right.
So you can put some bullet points around that and say you have to have this or this or this or this and this. But you can't just say, oh, well, roughing the passer and then just have 17 different guys give you 18 different definitions of what that is.
Right,
that's totally wrong. Totally wrong. And actually, the crews this week are the more important crews, because your referee for the Super Bowl will come from this week's crew, and I'll tell you who I think that's going to be later on in the show.
Going to be one white hat? Yeah, of course, one white hat.
There could have several people from this week's crew make up the Super Bowl crew.
But one
of the referees will definitely be officiating the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Be interesting to see.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming in. Okay, so the Chargers took a dump. I'm not sure if the Chiefs really cared who they played one way or the other. They're going to get a division rival in the Chargers, or a team that they don't know very much about with regards to Jacksonville. I would have given the Chargers actually a little bit bigger edge so to speak, in beating and having a chance to beat the Chiefs just because they know so much about them. But
Right.
V, remember last week when we were talking about these games, and I said, rarely do all the home teams win, right? Usually
Exactly.
goes like 3-3 or 4-2.
Yep.
One of those things is game planning, and then the players have to execute. One of the things we said in this show last week was that Peterson's um, coaching staff would have a better game plan than the Chargers, and I think they did that. The problem was the Jaguars didn't execute it till the second half, but once they did that, they beat the Chargers. So the question now is this week, who's going to have the better game plan, Kansas City or Jacksonville? And I think it's going to go a slight edge to the Chiefs, mostly just based on experience. Not that Peterson
Yeah.
doesn't have the experience because he had that with Philadelphia in the Eagles. I understand that, but it's just a little bit different setup this time. So I think the Jags, well, not that they can't win any given Sunday kind of thing, but I think they'll have a huge challenge to go into Arrowhead and play there. I just don't think it's going to end well with them. Miami went into Buffalo, gave them all they wanted. I'm not sure if Buffalo's still reeling from all the events that have taken place. They just thought maybe they could cruise, or that because this was a division game, the Dolphins knew what to do. The plus side was that the Bills got away with the win by 3 points.
Yeah.
That's Hamlin's number, so maybe there's some karma to that. But I didn't expect Miami to put up 31 points. Did you guys?
No.
I didn't. I, for one, did not. It was almost like they played, I won't say played down to the competition. It was almost like they were mentally distracted.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
the quarterback
something
was
was off.
Yeah, the quarterback was off the first half for sure.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure that out. Come high nor hell, man. But
they better figure it out this week. This Cincinnati team is angry.
Yes.
About a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
And here's the crazy part about this. Let's see. Buffalo is number 4 in scoring. Cincinnati is number 8. Okay, so both in the top 10. Buffalo a plus 169. Okay, so they score, and during the regular season, I'm not counting playoffs. So in the regular season, they scored 169 points more than they gave up. They lost their 3 games by a total of 8 points. Okay, they're facing an angry Bengals team who's only a plus 95. That's pretty good, but it's not 170. They lost their 4 games by a total of 27 points. On paper, is a Buffalo Bills team that really shouldn't have a lot of trouble beating the Bengals, but I'm just suspect of that defense, quite frankly, going against the Bengals offense that knows how to put up some points. So
and quick points.
And quickly, yeah. So I don't know what's going on there. The New York Giants went into Minnesota, beat the Vikings. We said all along, even after we put the Giants on the clock, we explained why we put the Giants on the clock. We said last week that Minnesota, that could be a trap game for them, and it definitely was. The Giants got up early and did not take their foot off the pedal, went away from Minnesota with a 7-point victory over the Vikings in Minnesota. Of course, they're going to Philadelphia this week, a little bit bigger challenge, but I'm quite frankly not surprised that they beat the Vikings.
I knew the Vikes were in trouble when the crowd was taken out of the game, and you could just hear like dead silence in there.
Yeah.
And the Giants just played mistake-free football, I guess, for lack of a better term.
They did.
The running game was on point. That defense was all over the place.
Yep.
I remember, because I picked Minnesota because they were at home. Wrong. I don't know. I wouldn't say they were flat, but they were definitely outmanned.
Yeah, I didn't trust Minnesota at home again because of Kirk Cousins. I just don't know why Minnesota spent all that money to bring in Kirk Cousins. And I know all of the parameters, but the guy throws a 4-yard pass when he needed an 8-yard first down or whatever they did, and it is what it is. Ed says, my heart says Jacksonville, my football sense, I think
I saw that.
It says Kansas City. I hear you on that front. I wouldn't, there was a comment in there too. Giants might upset Philadelphia. Sure. I mean, again, these are 2 division teams that know each other pretty well. I will say this: the Giants are going to have to play their best game of the season.
Yeah. It will be physical, though. It'll be a
Yeah.
physical game.
And I
It's
don't
gonna
think
come
it'll be
down
high
to
scoring.
Hurts, though. I mean, honestly, it's
Yeah.
like
He's gonna play.
Hurts. If Hurts plays,
He's
he'll
going to
win.
play, but he's not
playing.
100%.
Right,
gonna-
but I was going to say he's probably going to be coming in a bit rusty because he hasn't played in about a month plus the
About a
off
month.
week, right?
Yeah.
So he will be the dominant force, but I think it's kind of like a car that just took it into the shop and you need to get an LOF and you come down, or a Harley that's just been in the shop and it kind of sputters a little bit when it goes, but then once it starts kicking, man, it's good to go. So I think that Hertz will provide enough, but I tell you what, if he's shaky in the beginning and the Giants can do some things while he's shaky, he's
that's the
definitely
thing.
gonna be the reason why they win or lose. That's
exactly, Cap, and that's what they did in Minnesota. They got the ball, went down, got a touchdown. Minnesota was reeling from the get-go. So it's a little different because the Chargers did the same thing as the road team went down. Of course, they were up 27-7 at one point, but they just failed. The Giants are not going to do that. But I just think in the end, Philadelphia's just going to have a little bit too much for the Giants. But that's not to take away from anything that the Giants did that was great, and they're only going to get better. I think the NFC East, at least the top three of the four teams in the NFC East, depending on what Washington does at quarterback, may be one of the better divisions going forward.
Yeah.
Baltimore went into Cincinnati. Man, did they give the Bengals all they wanted to. This was a crazy game. And the Bengals won it because the Ravens were down by the end zone, fumbled the ball. Bengal player ran it back for a touchdown. There was a lot of controversy because they felt like there was a Bengals player on the return that blocked a Ravens player in the back.
No, and he even came up off of it as well. He nudged him, but as soon as he nudged him, he went down, and that's when again I will say if that's not a blatant block in the back, and I would also like to say when you do that, it's like I'm giving it up. I'm not doing anything.
Well,
and so
that's right. That's not why he didn't get the call, though. If you examine this play in slow motion, which is what officials do in our training, so that when you get into a real-time situation, you can speed it up. There's two aspects, but there's one secret aspect that officials at this level are told to watch for. And there's two. The second one is adjacent to this one, but hear me out. The first secret that you'll learn at this level that unfortunately they don't teach at other levels, I teach it, but they don't teach it, is that a player, the Bengal player in this case, the offensive player, is not going to slow down to block somebody in the back. Blocking the backs come because players are chasing another player. And the second part of that is, so if you run this play, you'll see that the Bengals player initially is in the lead. So the Ravens player is behind him. Here's the Bengals player. The Ravens player's behind him. Okay. Yeah. The Bengals player, you don't slow down to block somebody in the back. You block in the back because you're trying to catch somebody. So not only did the Bengals player slow down, but the initial swipe of the Ravens player was from the side.
Yeah.
Was there a hand on the back after? Yes, but the initial hit was from the slide. That's the ending point right there. What happened after that essentially doesn't matter. Yes, he had his hands on his numbers. Did he give him a little shove? I think he did a little bit of a shove. But the point is, after he wasn't chasing him. The initial contact, you see him hit him in the shoulder. After that, I won't say whatever happens doesn't matter, but essentially after that, it's not a block in the back. Not on a play like that, deciding play like that, in the playoffs, high stakes, blah, blah, blah. They're not calling that back. So I know everybody blew up because it's a block in the back. I'm telling you, at that level, and quite frankly, if it's taught properly at any level, not a block in the back. Would you get away with that call in high school? Maybe. But remember, the key is that players do not slow down to block somebody in the back. They block in the back because they're chasing a player that they think might catch the ball carrier, and they want to get him out of the play. So
Gotcha.
those two things make that not a block in the back. The fact that he put his hands up after, I agree with you, Cap. That's the optics that make it
Look bad.
theatrical for television, but that was no bearing on the fact that there was not a flag.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying it's that he
But
made sure that it was that, hey, I ain't touching him. I ain't touching him. And a lot of times,
Yeah, no, I hear you.
That's when they throw the friggin' flag. He goes, he's
making himself look guilty.
Yeah,
But
well, no, and I think,
applaud- I
and that
applaud
can
the
go
officials
either way.
for making the
V.
right call.
Yeah, V, that can go either way. And if I'm coaching that, I would tell the player to not do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you can actually talk the official into seeing something that he or she didn't
You don't
see.
Exactly.
And that's not good.
Exactly.
So I would actually teach them not to do that.
Yeah.
The other thing too is I think if you look at it really, really closely, the hands on the back, you don't see a full extension. Like, I'm going to push grandma down the stairs kind of thing. There's a little bit of an elbow in there. Again, that's just all part of it. But I would teach players not to do this. I don't think that helps your case at all.
Right. That's actually saying, hey, call a flag on me. And a lot of times Raider players do it. It's like, don't do that.
Yeah,
and we get the flag. It works because we get the flag.
And I'm going to shut the chat off here for just a second, y'all. And it's not because I don't want your comments, but I want to show you a video. Hopefully you'll be able to hear our audio while we're showing this video, because this is a training session that I want you to see. And what I would ask you in this video, and if you're on the chat, you're welcome to chime in, because we can still see your comments even though you're not seeing them on screen. We put them on screen. We know that makes us smaller, but we put the chat comments on there so that you can feel closer to the show, which is what we want. But this is the end. This is the very last play of the game in the Cincinnati Baltimore playoff game, where they threw the Hail Mary, and you can see the Baltimore player there almost getting the ricochet, which had he caught that and they got the extra point, would have tied the game. Okay, we all know he didn't get to the ball, but in this particular analysis, what I want to ask you all is, how close is 23 of the Bengals to making a play on that ball? You think he's close to being able to make a play on the ball? He's got a hand out there. What do you think, Cap? What do you think?
Well, in that angle, and obviously, hopefully people can hear this as well, it appears that he's like only fingertips away from making the catch based on the angle, because it's shooting down at the player with where you see the ball in front of him.
Right. And what I want to say is, here's one of the things that we try to teach on the show is to not try to officiate from television angles, because let me show you what the field judge's look is on this play.
All right, bring it.
It'll pop over here in just a second. I think that slide is 15 seconds. All right. Now, how far away is number 23 from the ball?
Wow.
See, that's the field judge's view of that play. When you look at it from the other angle, it looks like the player's right there close to the ball. He's not anywhere near that ball.
That's about 6 feet, looks like.
In fact, there's a whole other Bengals player, number 24, in between. So this isn't the perfect example, but I saw it this week and I wanted to pass along to you, is that when we're watching on TV and it looked, now I'm not talking about the strangle holds on Crosby, which are obvious holding calls that are not getting called. There are some things from television and the various angles that you'll get where it's obvious. But there are some, particularly the controversial ones, perhaps, when I'm not going to say the officials aren't wrong in some of their judgment calls. But what I'm saying is your television angles can misrepresent what's actually happening on the field, and this is a perfect example of that. Where 23 in the first slide looks like he's inches from the ball.
Yeah.
And then when you see it from the field judge's perspective, you see he's anywhere near close to the ball.
Yeah.
So all I want to point out in this is that let's let's learn on this show when I say, that your view on the field is different than maybe what you see on television. I just wanted to provide that video as a little bit of a backup to let you know that I've been in those situations and I don't always know what I'm talking about, but I want to try to educate in a way that makes sense from that standpoint. I know
Man.
there's a lot of comments on the Raiders, the Derek Carr
Yeah, I
situation.
saw it. I was reading that too.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna thank you for all those. Let's finish up with the with this week's games, and then we'll cover. We'll take a break. We'll come back, cover the divisional rounds. We'll have our comment on the officiating crews this week, and then we'll talk Raiders. So hang in there with us. We'll get to you with regards to all of that stuff. Dallas went into Tampa Bay. Should have beat the Bucks 35-14, but their kicker was on some sort of Caribbean cruise and forgot to pack his kicking shoes, I guess. That was crazy out there. What, he missed 4 extra points?
Four.
Yeah.
Four.
Yeah. So I'm surprised he's still wearing a Cowboys uniform this week, but I guess they're gonna go into San Francisco with Mayer still be the kicker. I'll tell you what though, this game against San Francisco is going to be a lot different. And if they lose that game because he misses an extra point or a field goal, he's not going to be wearing a star very much longer. And they may have waited too long for that.
Yeah.
All right. Week 19 in the books: San Francisco, Jacksonville, Buffalo, New York, Cincinnati, and Dallas. 4-2 in home versus away from that standpoint. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk divisional round. We'll talk Super Bowl ref, and then we'll talk Raiders. Be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to NFL Nation Live, our Week 20 show. Great to have everybody with us in the chat. Ed says Dak had the game of his life in Tampa Bay. San Francisco wins big in this game. Probably so. I think it's hard to imagine Dallas at the end of the line, you all, because they when they want to play well, they play pretty damn well. But I'm a little concerned that they're not really going to play well when they go into San Francisco this week and take on a 49ers team that is clicking on all cylinders. I think it's going to set up a maybe a 49ers Eagles championship game, and you can't argue that those would be the two best teams in the NFC right now, right?
No argument at all, man. I'm looking at Willie Wayne says that kicker was distracted by something.
Well, I know what it was. Yeah, I know what it was. Yeah, I've been there. I know the distractions on the sidelines. Is that what you're talking about, or something else? Was he?
I don't know.
He distracted by some? I don't know. I'm completely out of my mind, Andrew.
He just says,
is her name Veronica Rajek? Because that's the chick that I just did the IG chick that is allegedly Brady's girl. I will say that, man. But you're gonna pull some arse when you have a bunch of money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. But
I've read about it.
I've read about it. I'm not going to say where I read about it, but
I read about
in any case, the Jaguars going to go into Kansas City, take on the Chiefs. Look, the Jaguars pulled a big one last week. I think the luck's going to run out. This is a young team. They're a good football team. They'll play well, but I think any turnover, false start, going into Arrowhead, playing the Chiefs that are all liquored up on a recent Super Bowl win and a lot of playoffs and division titles. The Jaguars we'll hear from them again, but I don't really give them much of a chance to going into Kansas City and beating the Chiefs, even if they do manage to get a little bit of a lead in that one early. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't think they got enough firepower, I guess is the word,
right,
to keep up with them. And it really doesn't have to be a shootout. It's just that even if they've got a lead, KC can just pace them and then just at any moment just roll over them like the Tide.
Yeah, and the Chargers really didn't have the tight end that Kansas City does, and I just don't know what that matchup's going to look like, y'all.
Well,
I mean, I will say that it's not going to be a blowout.
No.
I firmly believe that the Jaguars can go into Kansas City and win, especially if they don't make the same mistakes or make the plays that they should have
Yeah.
the
Well,
first
like the
time
4
that they played them.
interceptions.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the first time that they went into Kansas City, they had like 4 extra possessions, including that onside kick that they should have done, and he got 0 points out of it. So if you start accumulating the points that you should get on the opportunities, you know, there it is. And also learning from Mr. Smug, we're going to get him a jersey that says Smug Daddy, Alex, the Kansas City fan. Is that Kansas City's defense in the red zone is not the greatest.
That's
So
true.
if you can get it down there, you have the capabilities of winning. And I said Zay Jones has been, and
Yeah.
remember, they picked up
Yeah.
Kirk and Zay Jones.
Yeah.
So they picked
Yeah.
up some good receivers in for the Jaguars. Can they do it? I would love to see it so I can do another Goonie Goo Goo dance.
Yeah, I would pay to see that one.
Yeah, I would pay to see that
Huh?
too.
I don't know. I don't know if they did, but if they do, I will be the happiest, Goonie Goo Goo Carlton dancing mofo on the show for sure.
And smooth with it. There you go.
It says Kansas City 34-27. I think that's a little high. I think it'll be 27-20 Kansas City.
27-20. Oh, because of the weather or just
I just don't think the Jaguars are going to be able to put up that many points. But
Hey, thank you, Matthew. I like that. He said I
well,
got
it was a 7-point game the first time. I know it's a regular season game. But in week 10, I think they played. It was 27-17 Kansas City.
Yeah.
So they have a blueprint for the Jaguars to a point. But Peterson's going to change some stuff. So the Jaguars will get points off of that if they execute that. And they'll execute better than they did against the Chargers. I think they were maybe a little nervous, a little hyped up, whatever. I just think going into Arrowhead, again, in a playoff scenario is something that they've not experienced, and I just don't know. I just don't think it's going to go well for them. But
well, the one thing you can say about Jacksonville as well is Jacksonville is this year's Cincinnati. And at the Cincinnati, other than the one, remember Cincinnati played one home game last year and then beat the other teams
on the road.
Okay,
right.
So it can be done. Will it be done? TBD. But I think that Jacksonville has a better chance of beating the Chiefs than people are giving them credit for.
Oh, I totally agree with you. I think of all the teams that, other than Pittsburgh, and that's probably not as good as Jacksonville, but I think of all the teams that Kansas City would prefer not to play right now, that would be it. And they probably feel lucky because Buffalo, Cincinnati, one of those two is going to get bumped off.
Yep.
Right.
But I don't think Kansas City maybe fares well with Buffalo. I think if Cincinnati goes back to Kansas City, I think Kansas City's going to have a little bit of a stick up their butt because of the fact that the Bengals have beaten them the last 3 times, and I think they're going to say enough of that. Mm-hmm. So I think if Cincinnati goes to Kansas City, I think the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. I think if Buffalo goes to Kansas City,
no. Buffalo's not going to Kansas City. If Buffalo and Kansas City play, it's at a neutral site, and I believe it's Norman.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. My bad. Okay. If Buffalo plays Kansas City for the AFC Championship game, that may be a different story, especially because it would be at a neutral site. And you're right. I forgot about that. I had refs amnesia on that. The Giants going to go into Philadelphia and play the Eagles for the third time this season. You can't really make too much about their second meeting because nobody really needed to win that one. I think the question now is, do the Giants have a few more quarters in their deep pocket to pull out to beat the Eagles? I'm not sure they do. I think they're going to come up just a little bit short.
I say it's going to be a hard-fought battle because of the closeness and proximity.
Yeah.
Them not liking each other so
exactly.
Speak, but
for a long time.
for a long time, as far back as I can remember, they hated each other.
Yeah.
But I think I think Philly just has a little bit more skill level.
Yeah. especially with Hurts in
And
there, even if he's not
yeah,
100%.
with Hurts playing, yeah.
Yeah.
And they say
Yeah.
he's off the injury list, so he's about what 90% then if he's
I
off
don't
the
even think
injury.
he's that high. I think that they're
You think
probably pushing that he's 90.
pushing?
He's
Yeah,
probably like about maybe 70%, but they're going to say he's 90.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
For that
They're going to say
psychological.
whatever they want the Giants to hear them say,
What's up,
so to
David?
speak. Yeah. And thanks to keep coming with the Raiders questions. We're going to get to those.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to ignore those.
Oh yeah.
Cincinnati goes into Buffalo to take on the Bills. Extension of the week 16, 17, week 17 game didn't get played.
Yeah.
So what do we do with this one? I think Cincinnati's angry. I'm suspect of the Bills' defense. I think the Bengals can put up whatever points they want to. I just don't know in this one who's going to out hit the other one. And I just think that the Bills are going to come out on top. They might get the crap beat out of them the week before they have to go play the Chiefs in the championship game. But I think this one's going to be one of the better games of the weekend. And I don't know what to do with this one. But I'm going to go with Buffalo.
Yeah,
and the +3.
My head's saying going with Buffalo, yes, because they're the home team. But this could go either way.
Yeah.
Because that thing about them being ticked off about some things, that corn flip was one that got
That's
under
right.
their skin.
Yep.
They don't like that at all. So
Yep.
they may bring some mustard with them.
You know, the thing is, too, you kind of wonder the Bengals in their coaching staff meeting, what are they going to do? They're going to say, well, let's go back to Buffalo with the game plan that we had previously because we thought it was probably going to work. Or do you think Buffalo kind of now sort of has a feel? I know it was a short time, but has a little bit of a feel of what Cincinnati's going to do and maybe make adjustments. You know what? That Buffalo defense is not the same without Von Miller. And I think with Von Miller in there, it's Buffalo's game to lose. I think now it's their game they're going to have to win. They're going to have to do it on offense. I just suspect of that defense just giving up too many points lately.
I have a feeling that, I hate for the theatrics of it, but I have a feeling that they're going to have the Hamlin or Hamler. I have a feeling that he will they will do everything in their power even if they have to put it literally in bubble wrap. To get him
at the game,
him at the game, to fire up the team and to fire up the crowd, and I think that's going to be something that now that he's there and he's getting better every day.
Yeah.
If he can be there, I'm pretty sure you're going to see him at that game, and I think that's going to be the over the top.
Yeah, Jay says Buffalo 20-14. That's how I would call it if the weather's bad. If the weather's decent, I think it'll be higher than that. These two teams are lighting up the scoreboard, and their defenses, I think, are a little suspect. I think it'll be higher than that unless the weather's bad. If the weather's bad, 20-14 sounds about right, or 21-14 sounds about right. What's the other one?
I'm taking Buffalo in that one. Like I say,
yeah.
And like Cap said, if DeMar shows up, and he already told him, he was texting him last week, he couldn't be there. That would put them over the top.
It could.
Yeah.
It could. Although they were trailing, Cincinnati 7-3 before that even happened.
I honestly feel that they would have won that game. I mean, I know that it's like woulda, coulda, shoulda, or maybe you don't know. But I just think that when all is said and done, they would have won that game. And I think the other thing is this: if you get the Bengals, like you said, going into Kansas City, Kansas City's going to the Super Bowl. And I think that Buffalo knows that, and Buffalo needs they want and need that game to be neutral because they did beat Kansas City this year in Arrowhead, but I don't think they want to make a return trip. I think
I totally agree with that.
The Super Bowl is predicated on winning this week's game, because I think they said we win against the Bengals, we will beat the Chiefs. You got to do the first before you get to the second.
Right.
But the first one is most important in their mind.
Well, at least the folks in Atlanta will get to see some decent football for a change. Ed says Cincinnati. Ed says Cincinnati has too many injuries. If those injuries include Mixon, then I think the Bengals are in trouble. Uh, I mean, their wideouts are plenty good with that Bills
Yeah.
secondary to get how many points that they should need. But again, if the weather's any little bit of a factor, I don't know. I just don't think the Bills defense is the same as that Von Miller. He's such a wild card in that defense that just the dynamic changes. You have to account for him. That means a different blocking setup or a different matchup, and I just think that's a problem with him not in there. So they're going to have to win it with offense. They'll have to do that when they play the Chiefs as well. So their road to the Super Bowl is going to have to be, 28, 38 points a week. I don't know. I don't know. I just think if Cincinnati has to go to Kansas City,
Buffalo.
I don't think that's good from that standpoint. Anyway,
Right.
Dallas going to go into San Francisco to play the 49ers. I don't think anybody wants to play the 49ers right now.
No.
I think Dallas matches up with San Francisco as well as any team that they've played to this point. Remember, they played a lot of games in the NFC West, which quite frankly, they pretty much steamrolled all over. They've had trouble with teams with schemes like the Cowboys play. The problem I have is that Elliott does not look like his old self. Dak Prescott is making pretty good decisions when he doesn't have a lot of pressure, but the 49ers are going to get the pressure, and I think that's going to be problematic. So if Dallas wants to win this, their defense is going to have to show up. And my thought is good luck with that, with the weapons that San Francisco has on offense. They could confuse the rookie quarterback, Purdy, a little bit, but I don't think they'll be able to do it for 4 quarters. And I just trust the 49ers coaches and their game plan. If the 49ers execute that, I think Dallas is in trouble.
Yeah, I'm just looking at San Francisco's weapons, and like you just said, with the play calling from Shanahan,
Yeah.
it's going to be wide open. Yes, now both defenses combined, I would just say that's a wash because both defenses are going to bring it, but it's the pressure put on Dak. And by the way, Zeke is hurt. Zeke is still not 100%.
Okay, that's why he doesn't look like himself.
You can see that in the Tampa. He's not 100%. And they kept bringing Pollard in, but they didn't play him that much either. So it's something going on with the running backs. But if they get after Prescott, it's good night. So
yeah,
and they're good on all 3 levels. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
the defense
exactly.
will wash out. It's the offenses. Can they confuse Purdy enough? Maybe, maybe not.
And then the 49ers will have the edge in the kicking game. Right,
Yes.
Mayer's going to have all kinds of goblins in his head.
He'll have Dr. Phil there with him the whole time, probably.
So I'm going to give a big edge to the 49ers kicking special teams, including Robbie Gould.
Yeah.
So Dallas is going to have to play their best game of the year. They're going to have to play. Dallas is on a 3-game schedule now, right?
Yeah.
So if they want to win the Super Bowl, they got to play the best 3 games in ascending order that they've ever played, and I just don't think it's in there. A couple comments in the chat. Buffalo by 10. Okay. I bet Doug Peterson pulls out the Philly versus Pat's book against the Chiefs.
Wow.
If he does and Jacksonville executes it, the Chiefs are in trouble. But I don't know if they're going to be able to fully execute what they want. But that's going to probably, of all the games this weekend, I think that's the one that could be the most even though New York Philadelphia is a division game. That's just who can hit the other guy harder. Jacksonville, Kansas City is more of a can I out finesse you game. Let's see, Pollard will be the difference in the San Francisco game if Dallas wins. I would agree with you on that front. CeeDee Lamb could be as well. Matthew says, I think the Bills win the Super Bowl. I would agree if they go and play Philadelphia.
And as far as the Buffalo's kryptonite, the D-line.
Oh, good catch. Yeah.
The D-line.
Well, actually, V, I think you're right. I think it's any spot on that defense. As a unit,
yeah.
They play decent.
Yeah.
They play decent. Yeah. But you're right. I'm not seeing that pass rush.
It's different with Miller. It's different.
Right. Exactly. That I think Buffalo needs to be able to say nobody's in our way at this point. and I just don't see the defensive line taking over games. You want to win a Super Bowl? Maybe you should have some folks up front that they're gonna do some damage, and I'm not seeing that at this point. They may have pretty decent luck against Cincinnati if Cincinnati is coming in with a bunch of injuries. I don't know what those all are, but I think if Mixon is one of them, that's problematic because if you can't run the ball in Buffalo, run the clock, and try to get out of there, um, I don't think they can just fly on the seat of their pants with their wide receivers all day.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to work. The referees for this week's game: Sean Hockley is in Kansas City, Cleek Blakeman is in Philadelphia, Carl Sheffers is in Buffalo, Bill Vinovich, Mr. No Chippy, is in San Francisco. Remember, your Super Bowl ref comes from one of these four gentlemen that will officiate this weekend. My pick for the Super Bowl for the White Hat is Sean Hockley. I think he's going to get his first Super Bowl. Yep.
Wow.
I think I think Sean's going to get the call. I don't have any inside information, just
That
a gut
new
feeling.
blood, that young
Just
blood.
a gut feeling. Yeah, I think he's going to get his first Super Bowl.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Bill Vinovich of all the officials that are left, I think Bill Vinovich is probably number one in my book. I'd put Cleek Blakeman just a hair over Sean Hockley, and Carl Sheffers is number 4. But that's a good group, as it should be. So your conference championship refs will be the ones that are essentially the next best that didn't get the Super Bowl. So our conference championship referees will be darn good, as will probably the rest of the crew. But your Super Bowl ref will come from this week's games from that standpoint. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Next week will be conference championships. There'll be 2. There's only 4, 5. There's only 7 games left in the season. I'm not counting the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, that don't
because that's not a game.
No.
But there's only 7 games left in the season. So without any further ado, let's talk Raiders. What's been going on in Las Vegas? There's a lot of chatter about this, that, and the other thing. Look. We could spend hours, days, weeks, months, and years trying to figure out what the Raiders are going to do, what they're not going to do. Let's start with what we know, or what we think we know about what we think we know. And that is, who are we keeping? Crosby? Jacobs? Devontae Adams?
Hopefully.
Okay.
I think we'll keep Jacobs.
And the offensive line?
I think that they're going to. I think they're going to move Parham to center and cut James.
Wow, you think so?
I think that they've been grooming him, and if you cut James, that's also like a 5. I think it's like $5.8 to $6 million.
Wow,
cap savings.
Okay, so then let's save a defense for later. Then the quarterback situation. There's a lot of options that they have. Obviously, they could draft somebody. I think the first question that I think leads towards part of the answer is do we think Stidham is the long-term answer at quarterback? If he is, then I think they're going to make a hard push for a veteran, whether that's Rodgers or Brady, to come in there for a season or two and mentor Stidham just a little bit more. If Stidham is not the long-term answer, then they're going to go after Mac Jones or something like that, or draft a kid that they can try to bring in and groom into being the quarterback and just take it in the seat of the pants, quite frankly, and not spend the money on Brady or Rodgers or whatever to come in there. I think there are other things. There's 2 other things that bother me. And let's table the defense for this one because we'll probably run out of time in this show. But Sean Payton may end up in Denver. That's not going to be an overnight turnaround for the Broncos, but that's a little unnerving, quite frankly. And because I feel like now our head coach is tied for 3rd in the division behind Peyton and Andy Reid, which I think is unfortunate and for me problematic. But then the other thing is too, I'm wondering about Thielen, who is up in Minnesota at the moment, trying to figure out what he's going to do. If you bring in Brady, Thielen, nothing wrong with Renfro, not putting him under the microscope here. And I understood there was some chatter this afternoon about Diop from Arizona. Look, nothing wrong with having another wideout across from Devontae Adams to pull off the double coverage. I don't know what they're going to do with the tight end. I think Moreau is fine. Waller's better, but Waller may be trade bait. But could you imagine if you brought in somebody like Thielen to double slot or to spell Renfro? I would think you bring in somebody like Brady, Thielen kind of becomes his Wes Welker, right?
Exactly. Yep, that's what would happen too.
And Renfro is like his Danny Amendola.
Right.
Yeah. And I was gonna say if you're gonna do that, like I said, if you're trading Waller, and you know, here's the was it the conspiracy theorist in me? You notice that the jerseys that were on sale the last week,
50% off,
50% off. It was Carr's, it was Waller's, and it was Jacobs.
Yeah.
Right. So I picked up a Waller and I picked up a Jacobs, and like I said, only because they were half price.
Yeah.
And so I did, and it's like, because you knew Carr was gone. I mean, everybody already knew that.
I kind of felt it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so are they going to do something with Waller? I think that if you want to keep somebody, obviously, I think that they're going to keep Jacobs, even though that's not the norm of what they do, what they did out in New England. I hate saying the Patriot
over
way.
there. Yeah.
The Patriot way was running back by committee, but at least now that they're seeing that Josh wanted it, and I think that they say that he is worthy of it. But I think they are going to have a stable behind Josh. You're not going to overuse them like they did this year. I think that Waller might be had for some trade capital, because the best ability is availability, and I don't think that they know if he's going to be available. And I'd rather get the picks for Waller and then go out and get a tight end like Mayer out of what is it, Notre Dame, who's the best tight end available.
Oh, yeah, he's good.
Yeah, right.
He's
good.
I
totally agree with you on that front.
He's good.
And so a lot of comments coming through in the chat. So Jay said number 10, I like him. Who's number 10?
That's Hollis. That's Hollis.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Ed says make a play for Ramsey. Matthew says too bad McDaniel doesn't have a jersey. They couldn't give those
that's
away.
What I was laughing
that's
at.
Probably true. What was the other one that Jay said? Because I agreed with that. I can't remember what it was. Why can't they go down in the chat? Anyway, she had another comment that I liked on there. Matt Collins. Sorry. I had refs amnesia there for a second. Anyway, she had another comment in there. Like, I think she said Stidham's not the answer. I think that was the comment.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one too. Yeah, that was her. Yeah.
You know, I have a lot of respect for her. And if she says that, makes me wonder if that's really the case.
Well, I mean, honestly, and I am firmly, everybody in the world knows this. I do not want Tom Brady as my quarterback, but I'm not Mark Davis, and Mark Davis wants Tom Brady. And you know, up until the time that you can get Mark's nose out of white powder, he's going to have, you know, Tom Brady on his mind. Okay,
so let me ask you this, guys. What's really from and I think I get it, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Wow.
From a Raider Nation or Raider fan perspective, what's really the baggage with Brady? The guy's won 7 Super Bowls. I know he fumbled. Damn it. That was a long.
It's that he's been diminishing skills. Did you not see that? I mean, and I didn't watch the game on Monday because I was actually doing something fun. But I was listening to some of it at the very end, and he just looked like ass.
He does, but he knows how to win. He knows how to set the standard. He knows how to hold everybody accountable. When he speaks, people are going to listen. And I'm not saying when Derek Carr didn't speak, people didn't listen, but the kid didn't win 7 Super Bowls. So if Brady farts, everybody's going to go, oh my God. If Derek Carr farts, everybody be like, Jesus, that stinks. So my point is that Brady coming in, skill set or not, has an optics factor that you can't deny. And on the side chance that he's got one more left in him, why not?
I like.
I'm not sure that he does, and I don't disagree with you, Cap, that he looked like dog poop last week against Dallas. But I think he was pissed about a lot of things this year. Same with Aaron Rodgers. The team was
Yeah.
8-9 or whatever they were. And I think he just realized that they were not going to be able to go after it. They were not going to win it. And I'm not going to say he threw in a towel and gave up, but he didn't act like he wanted to win it. Didn't act anything this year
Didn't
like
see
he's
that
had
same
the
fire. Yeah.
right, the same that he had the same fire that he's had
Didn't
in the
see it.
past. If
Nope.
he comes to Vegas, his tank may be out of gas. But if he says he's got in it what it's going to take, you can't argue the value that comes right off the bat. He already knows McDaniel's system. They probably don't even have to go into a meeting. Brady can probably walk out of there on day one, not play any games in the preseason, take the very first snap from center, and know exactly what Josh McDaniels wants to run. So you just kind of have to we might just have to see where this goes. I don't think they would bring Tom Brady in hopes that he's got one more left to win a Super Bowl, although I think that would be in the back of their mind. I think
That's what they want him for, though.
I know, but I think
yeah.
I think that's true, and if that's the case, great. But my feeling is you bring him in because he's going to set the cultural standard that you want going forward, and whoever's going to be next in line needs to be duct taped to his ass so that he knows what the expectations are.
Yeah, but the thing is on that is that will Tom Brady be the guy that allows somebody to have somebody duct taped to his ass? Because to me,
I think he will. I think he will because he doesn't have anything else left to prove. Jay says it too. He'll sell tickets.
He will. I saw that.
It's like Rodgers didn't get that with Favre, and then when Rodgers had to go and turn around and do it, he didn't do that with Love. So I don't know whether Brady really wants to be, wants to play Yoda to somebody's Luke Skywalker. And that's
but I don't disagree with that. But I don't think he wants to be in Tampa Bay. So the question then is, I think he still wants to play because he doesn't want to do anything else right now. So where's he going to go?
And
the only other place he could go would be San Francisco.
Well, and I heard Miami too.
Miami.
Well, that's if he gets an ownership stake.
That's why I said if he gets a stake in the ownership, he'll be in Miami faster than whatever analogy you want to throw out.
Yeah,
there.
Right. I totally agree with you on that front, and that's a possibility.
Now what about this, Ref? Now I think he would demand that they address that old line before he came.
You talking Brady?
Yeah. I would guarantee you he would say, "You've got to get me a line."
I agree with you, but I agree with you, and that's probably what they would try to do. But I would say this on the side is devil's advocate. Our offensive line, I think, and
they were ranked 10th last time I looked.
I don't profess to be anything knowledgeable about offensive line play, but I thought they looked pretty damn good. I think they're assembling a pretty good crew there. But I also think that with Brady's reputation of being protected by the referees, I think he'd go out there with a bunch of seventh graders because he knows he's not going to get hit. So I don't. I'm not saying that behind closed doors.
He won't get hit, but now he's wearing the silver and black. And remember when Jerry Rice came here, and Randy Moss came here, and Tom Rathman came here, and Roger Craig came here. They all said the same thing. The difference was what color uniform they were wearing at the time. When they were wearing the silver and black, and granted, Rep, this is a generation or so ago where the hate the Raider rules was a little bit more intense.
Yeah.
Okay, but it still persists.
Yeah.
And until you get that new blood that you were talking about, it hasn't transpired yet. So the out the F the Raider rule still kind of is pervasive.
I agree with you.
I like Ed's comment.
if it were right, if it were going to change, Brady would be the one to do it because I would think some of the officials would have a hard time separating the Tom Brady from the Raiders factor.
Right.
And I think when it comes down the field, I'll bet you get those flags that we don't get now. And that's just my take. I just think that the refs won't be able to separate the fact that he's wearing a Raiders uniform. He's still going to be Tom Brady.
Gotcha.
As if you were to put Jesus in a suit instead of a robe or whatever, sandals or whatever the hell they wore back then. They'd be like, oh, he's wearing a suit, but it's still Jesus.
Jesus went to Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But what I would take based on what you said was that I would agree with you until we see different. I think it's possible that and I'm not saying you're wrong because I think you're right. I would add that if it is going to change, even for a while, that Brady would be or Rodgers would be the one that would change.
Oh, it ain't going to be Rodgers because you got to give up too much to get him.
No, I know. I'm just saying some elite quarterback that they don't want bruised up like a banana coming out of the third shelf in the.
Okay, well here's the other option, and this is a bad case of barf. There is another quarterback that will be a free agent, and he is an elite quarterback that has won an MVP.
Right, but you're talking about Jackson.
Back to Baltimore. Exactly.
Well, but he doesn't fit Josh McDaniel's system.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's going to Las Vegas. In some wild, weird sense, he could end up maybe in Houston, but I don't know where Lamar Jackson goes. Quite frankly, I think he's a tremendous talent. I never felt like he was in the right system in Baltimore either. So he's got to be in a Hugh Jackson-ish type system, like we used.
Can we get
Campbell? Huh?
Can we get Hugh back?
Do you want Hugh back?
No, I'm just saying offensive coordinator.
Well, I don't think he'd get along with Josh Daniels, quite frankly.
Probably no, he wouldn't. I'm just joking when you.
Well, and I don't think I don't know. There's always been two coaches that aren't there most recently that I've been scratching my head on. He was one, Bisaccia was the other.
Yeah.
And ever since that, I was like, you guys don't know what the hell you're doing with head coaches. And I'm not sure they still do. But it is what it is.
I like that. Hardcore says Jackson.
Hardcore. I don't want Jackson. I was just throwing it out for the conversation.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah. And it's not that Jackson isn't a talent. He just needs to be in the right system to be effective, and we're not that right now.
Yeah,
not that we couldn't be.
They're not going to run that system. They're not going to run that, though.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. We're a drop back in the pocket, throw the ball, and he can do that, but he also wants to maybe run the ball, take off, whatever.
Bubble screens, all that stuff. Yeah.
But he needs weapons like everybody else, and we have some of those. But in any case,
but like
Mark Davis knows absolutely nothing about football. Well,
he's kind of said that too. Yeah, but
he knows the business side. From
and he's got the money.
That's the thing. He seems to have whatever money he wants to do, whatever he feels like he needs to do. So I think we have to let the Brady thing play out. If Brady decides he doesn't want to go to Las Vegas, and I don't think he would have if Josh wasn't there. I don't think. I don't know. I guess maybe he might play for Sean Payton if Sean Payton were in Las Vegas. But I don't know. I think it'd be so wild for Brady to go to San Francisco. I think that's where he wants to go. Quite frankly, I think he would pass
his
up.
Career.
Because he's from the Bay Area. He's a 49er fan. Grew up Joe Montana fan. I think he wants to be. Would love to win a Super Bowl there. Would probably be more to him. The one Super Bowl in San Francisco would probably be more to him than all the ones he won everywhere else.
Yeah.
Then the 49ers have to say to Trey Lance, well, we weren't really serious when we said you were going to be the starter. Um, and they only said that because they had to make a decision on if it was him or Garoppolo. Well, if they're making
Yeah.
a decision between him or Brady, maybe Lance can step back for a little bit because I think Garoppolo's probably gone from San
Probably
Francisco.
this time. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
especially with the way Purdy's.
Garoppolo was like out last year, and then they figured out that, oh crap, we can't do it yet.
We need to bring him back in. Yeah.
Yeah, Hardcore says Lamar would be a good fit in Miami, and I totally agree with you. The question is then, what do you do with Tua? Or are you just saying you're gonna use Tua's trick? But the other side of it is Tua is banged up, has been banged up. I don't know how many more concussions he's got left in him before he's not going to be able to play. Lamar Jackson would be probably as or more effective in that system in Miami than Tua's been, right?
Possibly.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, actually, Ed poses the question of the night.
Yeah, I like
what
that.
What Raiders do if Brady decided to retire?
And
that is why.
Then I think Carr goes to New England for Mac Jones.
I've heard that scenario too. Yeah.
So Andrew says he's going to retire. Wow. Well, then Miami has to have a quarterback. They could get Garoppolo, they could get Carr, but neither of them are good fits for the system. I agree with Hardcore that Lamar Jackson's a better fit for Miami's offense than either Carr or Garoppolo. But yeah, if Brady retires, and he might, then I think Aaron Rodgers will be a discussion topic for about 30 minutes, and then they're going to move on. But then I think they're going to make a play for Mac Jones, who wants to be reunited with McDaniels anyway.
Well, yeah, that's true. But here's the other thing. In order to do that, will Carr play ball?
Right. And that was discussed earlier today. Will he play ball with that?
You don't think Derek Carr wants to go win a championship in New England with Bill Belichick? Why would he? I don't know why he wouldn't play ball. I hear you, and I understand why. I understand your comment, and it's possible. But when you look at his alternatives, Indianapolis, he's not going to Houston. Indianapolis, maybe the New York Jets, or the NFC South.
Yeah,
maybe Washington, right? Yeah. Maybe what? New England may be the best fit for him. They don't ask a quarterback to do a lot. With I don't know. Maybe that's the best system for him. And I think Mac Jones just doesn't fit the system because you've got Belichick over Patricia. Patricia didn't know how to do anything on offense. And I think Mac Jones is just frustrated.
Well, we'll take Carr, but it's we'll take Carr, but you need to throw in. Got to behoove us. We'll take Carr. We have Jones, but it's going to be Carr plus a player, and not just the way that the hoodie plays it. Because we know, and I know, that you need to get rid of him, and I'm gonna milk it. Because I am the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah, so you keep telling yourself that.
We'll take Carr. There's going to be Carr plus a player for Mac Jones and a bag of peanuts. That's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah, so a couple comments. It says, will Jones be okay that Chandler Jones put a foot in his face? Probably. They'll probably kiss and make up on that. Hardcore Raider got a good point. New England has $15 million tied into Mac Jones. New England not getting a quarterback unless they draft one.
They draft one cheap.
I wouldn't disagree with you unless somebody between Kraft and the Raiders thought they were. If the Raiders thought they were dealing Carr and sticking it to New England, and New England thought that they were taking Carr and sticking the Raiders with Mac Jones, that deal would get done. That's the only, based on his comment about $15 million tied into Mac Jones. Yeah, the business side of that doesn't make any sense. No. But if either team thought they were sticking it to the other one by giving up whatever they had, you could absolutely see it happen. Again, that whole discussion is based on the predication that Brady retires.
Edward says, if Brady retires, do the Raiders consider bringing Carr back?
No,
I don't think so.
No, I think they burned that bridge.
Yeah.
No, they nuked that bridge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been nuked. I think that's a wrap, Ed.
You
for
didn't
him
let me
here.
finish, but I was going to say they burned it and then nuked the remains. But yeah, basically the same thing. Yeah. No, I think Carr is done with the Raiders, unfortunately, at this point. You know what? In this crazy ass sport, you all know that it's entertainment now. It's a business and it's
Yeah.
entertainment. It's
Yeah.
a folding chair shy of the WWE. Anything's possible. Andrew says, Refgu, are you kidding? About what? Am I kidding about
Yeah.
what? Because I'm probably not kidding. It's 10 million dead money New England
Dead
would
money.
eat. Yeah.
And another
But
5.
again,
Wow.
I don't disagree that New England may be stuck with Mac Jones, but I would say that from other things that we've learned, that contracts mean nothing.
Mean nothing. That's true.
They can rework contracts. They can do whatever they want with the monopoly money and make it be whatever they want it to be. I understand that guaranteed money makes things more challenging from that standpoint, but these guys, look, don't kid yourself if you don't think contracts can be voided, changed, updated, modified, red inked, redlined, put through the shredder, redone. All that is just bullshit cosmetics for everything else.
You could have a contract in your garage next to a Corvette, is for all that matters.
Yeah, so I understand what Hardcore Raider's saying, and he's absolutely correct. Based on the numbers and what we know about what we know, it's not a good business deal. But at the end of the day, teams can do whatever they want.
Whatever they want.
They can launder the money any way they want to. And if they want to get it done, they get it done. He says he doesn't agree with that at all. Okay. It's okay. Have you read Amy Trask's book?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Educational.
That's okay. He doesn't want to agree with that. I'm okay with that. Doesn't hurt my feelings. That's everybody's opinion.
It says
Look at
Tampa's and the Saints cap and the skill. Oh, well.
Yeah. But again, guys, when everybody talks about the cap is a self-imposed limit that nobody gives a shit about. I mean, the cap is just all talk for entertainment purposes. Oh, you can't go over the cap. The cap is bullshit. Everybody knows that. You can change it. Teams can do whatever they want to do. When has the cap ever stopped a team from doing what they wanted to do? Really? Really? It hasn't. They can do whatever they want.
See you, Doc.
Yeah. So
take care,
but
brother.
I'm not. But Hardcore Raider, that's fine that you want to disagree, man. I'm totally cool with that. That's why we're here, is to debate these things so we can get everybody's opinion. So I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just offering my opinion as an expression of you being able to offer your opinion, and we want that opinion. So I'm cool with that.
Definitely.
Hate to be fun, fellas. Okay, all right, Andrew. Cool. Okay, Hardcore Raider. Watch how many players have
to get
traded or cut from the Bucks and Saints this year. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, the Bucks. I know. Yeah, they're in bad shape.
I was gonna say Matthew 72007 has a good point. The Rams. How did they do all of that? I mean, it was like smoke and mirrors, man. It's like we couldn't figure out how the hell they did it, but they did.
That's what I'm telling you. Is that
they're paying for it now, though. They're paying for it now.
I agree with you on that as well, V, and that's part of what Hardcore Raider is alluding to. But I think that they use the cap as a way of saying we don't want this player or whatever. And so all I'm saying is that maybe I should stop short of saying that the cap doesn't mean anything, but I think they manipulate it as much as possible to their best interest. And I'll leave it at that.
Right.
Yeah.
Does Seattle move on from Smith?
No, we don't want Geno Smith.
No, I don't think so, Ed. No.
All those hybrid quarterbacks that are very talented, that run the ball, sling it down the field, that's not what we run in Las Vegas right now. Yeah. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't. If we had that type of system, then yeah.
If they're going to bring in a hybrid, they'll bring in Jacoby Brissett because he's at least been in the system 1 or 2 years.
With them. I could see that one. Because who knows if they keep Stidham even?
Boy,
will they keep Stidham?
That would be weird.
I would say if they don't keep Stidham, they're effed.
I would agree with that because they don't have a Mark Purdy in third place.
Right.
You know.
I don't know if Chase Garbers is Purdy.
How about Gabe says, how about Danny Dimes this past weekend? Sheesh. I don't know what that means.
He balled out.
Ed says, who's Danny Dimes? Did I miss something?
The Giants QB.
Oh,
Daniel
okay. Yeah.
Jones. Daniel
Sorry.
Jones.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He balled out. He
He
balled
did.
out, Gabe.
And he's going to
That's
need
all.
another one this week.
Yeah.
And he'll need an even better one next week.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But he
This
was
year,
on
free
point this
agency is
week.
going to be crazy. A lot of teams are going to be forced to make moves to get younger and lower cap. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But again, I still think that that's just the owner's way of being able to manipulate the entire system.
To get what he wants. Yeah. Gotcha. I like that one.
Because it's not like some third entity is setting the cap space. The owners get around, drink a few beers, and go, what should the cap be? Well, let's make it 35 million. Oh, no, I need 40 million. Well, let's make it 42. Deal. Let's go get a burger.
And look at it this way. Every year that cap goes up, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
It's been going up, but they still cry, oh, we don't have the money to. They can go get whoever they want, whenever they want.
Get whatever they want. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
I think the cap has the optics of making everybody look legit. I'm just not sure that when it's all said and done, it's really doing what it's supposed to be doing. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I saw. That
Raiders offered Brady a $250 million contract a few years ago that Gruden nixed.
Yeah, he didn't want him.
Well, yeah, it was a lot of money to pay for Brady at the time. It felt like he had something in Derek Carr. Right. I might have nixed it too, quite frankly. We don't know what went on behind closed doors.
Well, the theater that we've been covering, I could see that whole scenario of TB12 coming to Vegas for that Super Bowl run in Vegas in 24.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Right. I think that's all those factors, and I think what Jay said is true. They want to sell tickets. they want to hype this whole thing up.
Oh, yeah.
And then if it blows up, they'll go, well, let's move on. So
yeah.
That's the thing. The teams always have next year. They always have more money, and
that's right.
And they don't have to plan. The fans want gratification now. The teams are like, the teams are like, this is our business. All we need is running the business. The results we don't really give a shit about. The results are just, maybe we'll sell a few more T-shirts and jerseys.
Right.
But how many Super Bowls have the Eastern Michigan Lions won? None. They just keep moving on to the next year. Oh, we'll be better next year. Oh, let's see how we do next year.
Yeah, but we've been hearing that for 20
50 some since Bobby Lane left and cursed him.
Next year.
All right, I think we pretty well beat this topic to death.
That horse is dead,
in any case, we'll get to the Raiders defense on a future show this week. We've got divisional matchups with the conference championships to follow. Once again, I think Ed Hockley is going to be the Super Bowl referee.
Not Ed.
Sean.
I'm sorry, Sean. Yeah. Sean.
I could say if Ed Hockley is there, then that's news.
Messed up. That's beyond messed up. Yeah. No, Sean Hockley. Sorry. In any case, that's just my guess. Could be any one of the other three. They're all well deserving. They are the four best. Adrian Hill's pretty good. I think he's 5A if he's not 5, because Adrian Hill's pretty good. But in any case, those refs will come from. So,
Giants. Let's see the Giants.
All right.
Somebody
so what do you guys?
Who was reffing the Giants game? Cleet Blakeman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody asked that?
Yeah, I just saw that. Yeah, Gabe. Yeah.
The Giants fan was asking for that. Blakeman's a good ref there, Gabe.
Yeah, Cleet Blakeman.
Yeah, if I were an owner of a team, I would not be disappointed with any of these officials. Ed Hockley would not, or Sean would not be my first choice. My first choice would be Vinovich, followed by Blakeman, Sheffers, and then Sean Hockley. That's what I would want if I were doing the games. But again, they're all four pretty good. I just think the NFL wants to make a little bit of a statement with Sean. They've gone aggressive before on the officials. I think, hang on. Do I have?
It says I think Brady makes the most sense. Yeah, from the business side. Yeah, I could see all that
You
playing
know,
out.
and again, I don't like the guy, but I'm a firm believer. I will support whoever
Yeah,
is
who's ever in the
quarterback,
uniform? Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
not going to like it, but
yeah. We've
I
done it
just don't want
before.
to. I
Yeah.
just don't want to have a big money investment into him because if we have put too much money into a weak armed quarterback,
Right.
then we don't have enough money to go after defensive players as
That
well
we
as
need.
the
Yeah.
offensive line that old man needs.
That we need now, regardless of who's there. We need that. So I hope in the draft, I hope that's what they address, man. Really,
Yeah.
seriously,
Exactly. Yeah.
defense.
Yeah. I would also say back to the officials that this weekend, Sean is the only one that doesn't have a Super Bowl. Vinovich has
All right,
2, Carl Sheffers has 2, and Cleek Blakeman has 1.
gotcha. So yeah,
So
you could
there's,
move him up and give him his.
yep. That's why I think they're going to do it. It's rare for an official to get 3 Super Bowls. 3 Super Bowls: Bob McElwee, Jim Tunney, Norm Schachter, Paul Haggerty, Terry McCauley, and that the last official who got a 3rd Super Bowl was 2014. So not since 2014 have we had a someone with more than 2 Super Bowls. Jerry Markbright's the only one with 4.
Wow, yeah, he was
So
a man back then.
yep. So in any case,
Jay says
Vinovich,
no lady refs.
Not yet.
not white hats.
Yeah.
That's coming.
It's coming.
coming.
You think so?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
In fact, there was a bowl game. Was it a bowl game? I think it was a bowl game. I think it was a Aloha Bowl where all the officials were female.
wow,
Yep.
That was a statement then.
Yeah, pretty much.
that's what it'll be when it happens. It's
Well, that's why I think Sean Ockley gets this one.
Yeah.
I think they want to get him going and moving up on the ladder with respectability, because that's where you start really earning your stripes. When you walk into those officials' rooms, they know who's worked Super Bowls,
Right.
and that's when you start getting chevrons on the sleeve, so to speak.
Gotcha.
That's
Earn
when
those
you work.
stripes. Yeah,
Figuratively speaking, but
makes
that's how
sense.
it works. How much do
Thank
we
you, Ed.
lose? Wait, Jay says, how much do we lose if we cut McDaniels? Who cares, really? I mean, wouldn't that be? I wouldn't do that unless we're going to get Sean Payton.
If
I
we
mean,
were
who do you
speaking,
want?
wow, and speaking of purses, remember we were saying the owners could move money, however. Now that's could be a sticky situation right there. Would Mark pull the trigger, or will he honor the 3 years that he gave McDaniels?
I think McDaniels gets
2 of those 3.
Yeah,
If
if he
he-
goes to the playoffs next year, he gets 2024.
Okay,
I think if he doesn't go to the playoffs next year, he's
could
gone.
be. Yeah,
Especially if he starts getting out coached by Andy Reid and Sean Payton.
Right.
Right? It was one
Well,
thing to get.
we saw Andy do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to get out coached by Nathaniel Hackett. It's a whole other thing to get, beat up by Sean Payton. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe
Like I
Brady
say,
goes to Denver. I don't know.
And Ed keeps saying he might retire. And like you say, what do we do then?
I still think. Well, I think they'll have to draft somebody and just.
I think they will, regardless. I really do.
Yeah.
I think
They have
they'll
so many
get one
other
of
needs,
those-
though.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
know.
thing. I mean, if Brady retires, that's a huge problem for us. Because then what do we do? We
Where
go
do we go?
quarterback.
Yeah.
We go quarterback, or do we go something else? If
Defensive
Brady's
tackle
coming,
yeah.
yeah, if Brady's coming, then we can do something else with those draft picks, so to speak. So,
And we need pass rushers too. Because
We need a
Max
lot of
cannot hold up with all that pressure on one
No.
side.
no,
That's right. You said
you're
it's
going
going
to shorten his career.
It's got to be defense.
Yeah.
Primarily in this draft, I think maybe the only offense I can see us doing, especially if old man comes in, is tackle guard,
Tackle. Yeah.
tight
Yeah.
and tight
Yeah.
end.
Tight
Okay.
end. Yeah.
Tackle guard, tight end, especially if they get rid of Waller. And I know that they say, well, what's the cap parameters? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Don't matter.
If you win $10 million on Waller, they'll make it up by draft capital. Okay. So if you get draft capital for Waller, you'll eat the contract. $10 million is not that much, really. And I know it's not my money,
Right.
But seriously, it's not that much money. It's a player you didn't get, but if you get it with the people that you get instead of him that are on rookie deals, there you go.
Gives you time to build.
You get the capital. You get all. It's basically all defense with a developmental quarterback in round 3, and actually there's a couple kids that are worth it. There's a couple kids that are worth it that are like round 3 talent that'll be the talk of the draft. Levis is probably the best in my estimation of the first rounders. Richardson, if he knew how to throw a ball,
right,
would probably be the best upside, but he's got to learn to be consistent in throwing a ball. He's probably got the most upside. Levis, I think, will probably be the best. And Bryce, what's his nose, is going to get broken in half.
Yeah, Bryce Young. Yeah, Bryce.
He's the next Tua. He's going to get broken in half. But there's plenty of quarterbacks that are big, strong, and have arms that are not first-round talent. You get them if they drop to you in rounds 3 or 4. Because you move. Actually, you probably move up in round 3 if they're sitting on the board. Pick them up. But it's all defense, tackle, guard, and maybe a tight end.
Yeah, a lot of comments about us getting out coached already. I agree with that. The other one was Max getting held more than a newborn. I agree with that too.
Newborn,
but
that was fun.
The thing is, they want to bring in Brady for a year or two, try to have a shot at a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If you don't bring Brady in, then we're in trouble, because even if you start bringing in other players in the capsule that Cap was just talking about, the window on all of our other core players, Crosby, Jacobs, Adams, that starts closing. So it's going to be tough to get a Super Bowl championship team there and put together. So
bye, Jay. Take care, honey.
Yeah, Jay. Thanks for joining us. All right, everybody. I think that pretty well covers it for this week. I got an early day tomorrow, so I got to get out of here. Cap, any thoughts on the weekend before we get out of here?
No, just thoughts on tomorrow. I want if everybody can, and I'm not going to say why, but if everybody can keep well wishes and cross fingers for me for tomorrow, I would appreciate it. I'll tell people afterwards if it was hopefully worthwhile. But cross fingers, well wishes, and positive things for me. And also for Jay, sense of positivity for Jay, who's going. And I don't know if she wanted me to say anything. I'm sorry, Jay, but she's got some issues going up, and I want to make sure we keep some positives for Jay out there as well.
Got you.
Got it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well taken.
Absolutely. All right, V.
Hey, I'm just wanting to watch some good games here.
Yep.
Let's see who the final 4, I guess, are going to be, and let's get on to that big dance.
Super Bowl. All right. You guys going to Arizona for the Super Bowl?
Not right now. It's not on the radar, but things could change.
Yeah, unless somebody gives me an airfare.
Right. Yeah. Copy that.
And not even airfare, a hotel. Well, I can
hotel and ticket because I can drive.
Yeah. Right.
Airfare, I can find a place to stay. But we'll see.
Okay. All right, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Next week, our week 21 show. Wow.
Yes, sir.
Conference championships. Wow.
Championships, baby.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, I got to do it anyway, even though we're not playing anymore.
Come on, Jeff.
Got to do it.